Hi, all right, and welcome to the GCSE Design and Technology presentation for your options. Okay, let's get straight into it then. Why is D&T important? Why is it different from what you've done already in Year 7 and Year 8? And what do we do in DT? Okay, so first of all, in terms of being different from Year 7 and 8, you'll get a double lesson every week. So that's all of Year 9, and in Year 10, it'll go from a double to a double and a single. So you'll do a lot more DT, but because of that, we expect you to learn a lot more. So it's a lot more involved. This is how we work in design technology. So an example might be you're designing and making a bird feeder in year 10. How would you do that? Well, you go about it first of all by researching. You would analyze products. In other words, you would look at bird feeders that are already on the market and get some ideas. You would get a client and you'd start to understand your user. You would ask them questions about what they want from a bird feeder. You'd have to learn about materials and what's suitable for a bird feeder and what's not. You might be surprised at what is and what isn't. You'd have to learn how bird feeders work and how they're put together, because we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're looking at how things have been done in the past and trying to improve upon them. Eventually, yes, with all that information, you can then start designing successfully. And eventually, when you've developed a design and maybe modeled, you can then make it. Eventually, you'll evaluate your own ideas to improve them for next time. So that is essentially design technology. Okay, so if that is DT, successful designers can be the following people. So if you are good at drawing design ideas, because you've got to get your ideas out of your head onto paper, yes, you need to be good at using 2D design, but you also need to work independently. So you need to be working independently on 2D design and drawing your ideas and researching. So you do things without a great deal of help. You have to stay after school, especially in year 11, because our subject's very demanding and it's time that causes our issues more than anything. So you would be expected to stay after school in year 11 to complete coursework. Okay. Successful designers are problem solvers. They can take a situation such as that bird feeder and they can come up with suitable solutions that are creative. They analyze the research so they can do that. And yes, they are practical people, so they're going to design things that actually can be made here at school. Okay, so what's the course overview then? Well, it is a 50% exam at the end of year 11. It is also 40% coursework, NEA, non-examined assessment, which means it's not a written exam, it's coursework. And 10% of that is practical. So those of you who are thinking practical is the thing that I want to do the most of, you'll be doing the least of it. And that's worth pointing out, because everybody thinks that practical work is a massive thing in DT. It's not. It's only a small percentage of what we do. Okay, so talking of which, let's talk about the exam briefly. So the exam is 50% of your final mark. It's a 2-hour written paper at the end of year 11. And to make sure that you're ready for that, we have to engage you in a huge area of study that's going to range from topics such as emerging technologies, designing for sustainability, industrial manufacturing techniques, to name but a few. Here's an example of a question from a couple of years ago that baffled a few students. Here is a coffee table that's going to be made from ash, which is a wood. It's from North America. It suffers dieback. In other words, it dies obviously quite a lot. Its lifespan goes from 30 to 300 years. And it says evaluate the coffee table with reference to its ecological footprint. Are you someone that's interested in that sort of question and want to find out the answers? If not, DT is probably not for you, because it's full of questions like this. It's also got quite a lot of math questions in it. If you quickly scan through this, you're basically comparing how many billion tons of composite food and drinks containers were recycled in 2010 to 2017, and you've got to calculate the percentage increase. Do you want to be able to do things like that? If that doesn't interest you, again, DT may not be for you. Okay, so enough about the exam for a second. What about the actual work in year 9 and 10 to prepare you for the coursework in year 11? Well, yes, we do make some nice things, but on the back of making these nice things, a lot of research goes in. So there's a lot of designing and research that goes into this product here, which is a pine container with a little pewter handle. There's a lot of research and designing that goes into making the jewellery that year 9 and 10 made last year. And there's also a lot of research and drawing and design that went into making bird feeders in year 10. Once you've done those things, you are then hopefully ready to do your coursework, which starts at the end of year 10 and goes throughout year 11 until your exam. So the exam board, which is AQA, they give us 3 contexts. And what I mean by that is they give us 3 sort of themes. So, for example, they might give us a theme of caring for animals. They might give us a theme of working from home, where you might design, say, media storage or desk tidies. And you have to take one of those contexts and you have to design and make something that fits that context. Let me give you an example of that. So this is what a student did for traveling in comfort in the back of a car. And she took this context in quite an unusual way, but it still worked. So she took the option of trying to design and make a board game that you could use in the back of the car that would stop you from being bored and therefore improve your comfort on a long journey ride. So this is a piece of research that the student did. And there were 7 or 8 pieces of research that this student did to get to the stage where she could then start designing. Again, eventually she ended up designing this product here, but she did at least 5 or 6 different design ideas along the way to get to this stage. Eventually, you'll have to do some CAD drawings. This isn't the design you saw on the last page, but this emphasizes the fact you need to do some CAD drawings and even maybe 3D CAD if you can, computer-aided designing, 2D design, for example. And then eventually, yes, you'll end up making a nice bit of practical, but don't forget, that's only 10% of the final mark. You will evaluate it. So here is the board game, actually in the back of the car with the student, that obviously this person's photographed. I got somebody photographed for her, and that's really good evaluation. And again, this is just one page of evaluation of probably about 4 or 5 pages. It's a good folder. So basically, that is the actual NEA, the coursework. And this is just a snapshot of that. That folder would probably be about 30 pages long. Okay, so after DT, and we've sorted out the actual exam and the coursework, what you do when you've got your results. Well, you could stay here at Bewdley and you could do A-level product design. And a lot of students from that go on to do subjects such as architecture, and product design and engineering at Birmingham University, to name a few other places. And they also go on to do certain things such as maybe take an apprenticeship. You'll have a folder of work, and you'll certainly have, you'll be able to provide evidence of your ability by looking at that folder. Okay, so that hopefully answers a lot of the questions that you might have had for DT. If you've got any more questions, feel free to come and pop and see me or email myself or Mr. O'Malley. Thank you.